Hey everyone, welcome once again to Vish Chats. Tim Vish is with me today. She's a podcaster, she's a former wrestler, valet, and as she elegantly puts it, a nerd with boobs. Her words, not mine. Don't get mad at me, folks. But ever so lovely Miss April Hunter, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's not a problem. How's the show been going for you?
It's going good. The A show. We've been picking up some really good guests. We just had filmed tonight. Thank you for having me on afterwards, so I didn't have to do my makeup twice. Yeah, we just had on Joe Davison from Stranger Things. So we're picking up some really cool, awesome, unique guests. So yeah, it's doing good.
Well,
Thank you for asking.
that's always good. It's I don't know about anyone else, but me personally, I always try to have like a very wide span for guests, while
Mhm,
wrestling may be a big thing, but you gotta have other, everyone's gonna have other interests, right?
mhm.
I mean, I've always made the argument I'll talk to anyone so long as they, are willing to want to go and talk shop about whatever.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, we actually, strangely enough, we don't talk a lot about wrestling. We talk about like everything, and I'm with you. I think everybody's got a story. So,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. So I wanted to ask you, and I did do my research on you as best as I could. So if so whatever info I got wrong on you, by all means, please blame Wikipedia, not me.
Okay, Wikipedia.
So yeah. So one thing I'm curious on is it said you were from Philly. I was just wondering what part because I'm a South Philly kid.
Oh, okay. I'm from right outside, like media, Delco.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm South Philly. I grew up on 4th Street. I was born on 4th Street, but I grew up on 2
yeah.
Street. So it was like I like 95 was right down the
Hmm.
block from my
Oh, I
house.
know it well. I used
Yeah.
to
So
practically live
you
it
grew up from
south of
Philly
Philly.
when you get to what you knew you grew up from Philly when you've either have played or got told played under 95 or got told don't go near 95 after such and such time.
Or in my case, done photo shoots under 95.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a kid. I used to see some of the ECW guys go and do vignettes and promos under 95.
Mhm.
So I would just go and be like, wow, that's cool.
I have a picture on my wall here. I took a picture from my room. I went back to Philly and we were filming at the Alhambra Arena for WEW. So I sat my camera on the ledge and I did the bridge during the day. And then later I came back at night and I did the night mode. I did the bridge at night. So I have the framed picture of the day and the night right there. It's one of my favorite pictures I've done.
That's awesome right there. That's
Yeah.
awesome right there. Is there any parts from back home that you miss?
The pretzels.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Unless you're from Philly, you
Yeah.
cannot really grasp that.
Yeah.
That or it's impossible to find a place that makes a half decent cheesesteak.
Yeah, I know I was never really a cheesesteak person, but I do like the pretzels and I love the autumns there. So,
Yeah. That and scrapple.
mhm. I
Yes.
found a place in North Carolina that I can find the scrapple, and they call it liver cheese.
What
Right,
liver cheese?
liver cheese. Yeah, they do 2 different versions, one's scrapple and one's liver cheese. It's disgusting sounding. Tastes the same though, just a little bit spicier. So, yeah, I know.
I mean, well, I don't know on how I'm not sure if you know on how PA with the way PA is shaped. I live in Erie now where it's
Mhm,
that little part that looks like the chimney.
mhm.
There's one store up here that sells scrapple, so I'll get that every now and then.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you're lucky you have access.
yes, yes, that and tasty cake.
Yeah, because by the time they get to where I am, they're usually, not so fresh. And you need the good
Yeah,
water. You need that Philly water, that disgusting water to make the good baked goods.
the
So
Schuylkill River.
yeah, exactly. With the pollution and the dead bodies, that makes the best bread.
Yes.
So, yep.
Only PA kids will get all this part right here.
Yep. Blah.
This is the best part right here, folks. Only PA kids get this.
Mm.
So yeah, you did that. You all, like I said. So what first got you started up with taking up bodybuilding?
Um, it, if I'm honest, I went and I was partying a lot. I was like practically living on South Street actually. And I started doing a lot of I started getting into trouble. I graduated early and I started getting in trouble between the ages of like 17 and 19. By the time I turned 21, I was kind of through with drinking and experimenting. Um, but I'd also gained a few pounds and wanted to quit all the stupid extracurricular stuff I'd been doing. And I needed something to do with my nights. Um, I knew I was hanging out with kind of not so great crowd. So I was looking for something to do or somewhere to go at night, kind of replace bad habits with good ones. And I found my gym was open uh, pretty late at night. So one of the bouncers from the clubs I worked at took me over to the gym and kind of showed me how to use the equipment. And I would go in 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night and go work out. So it gave me something to do other than hang out and go clubbing and drink and, play around with drugs. So,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah,
I I got took it. I took up weights because I was built like a toothpick
yeah, me
until I
too.
was like 20, until I was like in my 20s.
I was like this.
Yeah, a pencil had more meat on its
Mm,
bones than I did. And then it was just next thing you know, I started picking up the weights, and next thing you know, it was like boom, I blew up.
yeah.
So, so what was some of the harder issues you had when you first started taking up the weights? Because I mean, I know mine, but I'm always curious about picking
Stairmaster.
people's brains.
I couldn't do cardio to save my life. I could do like maybe 3 minutes, and that was it. I love doing the weights. I love the challenge of the weights, but I hated cardio. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try the Stairmaster thing. Like 2.5 minutes, I thought I was going to die. Um, so that was the biggest challenge for me. It was working my lungs up to that. I was born with something called lobar pneumonia, actually in
Oh,
Lankenau Hospital in Chester, and I've never had full capacity of my lungs. So I've always had asthma and all kinds of lung issues and autoimmune and all kinds of stuff there. That's why you see me in the ring. Sometimes I'm moving and sometimes I'm moving slowly. It depends.
oh,
Um,
I relate. I had really bad childhood asthma
yeah.
to where I would carry an inhaler. Like I couldn't go up. I could get up halfway up the block and then be like, hold on, guys. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do the cardio. I wanted to get rid of some of the inhalers, and it actually worked. So I was able to strengthen my lungs and heart enough that I could get off the inhalers, unless it was an absolute emergency. So exercise has done a world of good for me. It's opened up a lot of doors. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
You
that
ever
was the
get
hardest part.
Yeah, you ever get the itch where you just like if you see some of the new generation that's doing it and you're like, you give me like 4 or 5 weeks, I could go in there and put them kids in line. You ever get that kind of itch?
um, n- Not really. I mean, I see one of two things. Like I see some kids who are picking it up early, and I know that they're going to be amazing. I remember seeing this one kid who came in. He was on crutches and he had a broken leg. And he's probably about, I don't know, 17, maybe 18. And he was working around his leg. And I was very impressed by that because that's like a professional athlete wrestler thing that you don't let something broken get in your way. You work around it and you keep going. And then I'll see other kids that are they're in there and if they, in wrestling who are way overweight for their age. They'll be 22, 25 years old, and they are so chubby or heavy for that age. And they look terrible. And I'm thinking to myself, you are just diabetes is around the corner for you, and so
Yeah.
are heart disease and everything else. So, and I don't think they get it. It's like, I don't think they understand that it's just you don't have to even do much. Just half hour, 4 days a week, and that's, you can get something out of that.
Yeah, I started teaching my son weightlifting when he was 13. He's 15 now, and he took to it like a fish to water, and He's about six. He's about 6'5", and he's built like an ox. Like he's had teachers look at him and say, "You're 15? Are you really?"
That'll bite you in the ass when he turns 19.
Oh my God! No, he is a gentle. He is God bless. He definitely can tell the difference between a kid growing up in Erie versus the dad that grew up in Philly. Because if I was built like that when I was 15 in Philly, I wouldn't have had as many issues with bullies.
Yeah.
Whereas with him, he's like a gentle giant, and it's just like, "Hey, how you doing? Can I hang out with you?" Yeah, it's complete 180.
That's good. I think part of the reason I started going was because my grandmother worked out, and I spent a lot of time with her. I guess she kind of partially raised me. So it was just a habit. She always made time for exercise, whether it was walking around the neighborhood or doing, she called jazzercise or step up videos
I
or
think jazzercise is still a thing.
is it
I saw
Nautilus.
video for it.
So I don't know, but it worked. She always stayed fit and looking good and healthy into her early 80s, and I think I just saw her making time for it every day. So I just figured that's what you do. You just make time to work out every day. So, if they see it, they'll imitate it. Like that's what they learn.
Yeah, and his big
So,
thing is that he wants to, while he has blown up like a tank, his big thing now is he wants to try and lean out to get like that Mr. Universe build. And I'm
mm,
like, not, dude, trust me, you're fine the way you are. You're built like an ox. You're built for muscle, not for show.
mm,
And he didn't understand, and I had to show him like the differences between the bodybuilder and strongman style that I'm teaching him.
mm.
So it's like, whoa. So it's interesting to see it from a whole second set of eyes, seeing that whole perspective.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I know you also have done some books as well.
Yeah, I've been writing pretty much my whole life. So I started doing. I've always anybody that's followed me for a long time knows that I've written newsletters and blogs, and I have a April Hunter blog. I started that back in I don't know about 2010, and then sometimes I still play with it, sometimes I don't. But then I it's kind of switched over to the podcast. I wrote a couple of years ago. I wrote a book called Undisclosed Darkness. It was a book of short stories. That's on barnesandnoble.com. And then I wrote a children's book. It's called Monty, A Tale of No Tale, which I should have, if I knew you were going to ask me about that, I would have brought a copy with me. And it's based on the Hans Christian Andersen Ugly Duckling story, except it's about a corgi being on a farm and not having a beautiful tail or long legs. And that's under the name April K on Amazon if you want to check that out. It's actually one of the coolest things I've ever done. So just various different things here and there, screenplays and different things.
That's all. I'm always curious about that because writing has always been that one kind of medium I can never get into. It's like because my brain's just wired that thought to paper connection just isn't there for me.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a it's it's not an easy thing to do. Everybody thinks it's easy to write, but it is definitely not. And editing sucks. So there you go, Monty.
For those, yeah, we'll make sure we put links for it all in the description. Trust me, I'll make sure we'll make sure we have that in post for you
Oh,
because
thank you.
not gonna let that go by. You know, I know you do a lot of cosplay work. I've got a couple friends that do cosplay work. I don't know if you listened to any of the other episodes I've done before, but I had a friend on before. She does a lot, and we were talking before about on how she does a lot of it and on how she works with a lot of people out in California that do cosplay stuff. What first got you interested? What do you know well, yeah. It's easy for me to say. Talk right, damn it. See, that's the beautiful thing about this show. We don't hide our screw ups.
Yeah, same. I do live, and we screw up. We
Yeah,
screw up. It is what it is.
yeah. What introduced you into cosplay?
You're gonna laugh, but way back in the day, because I'm older now, there was, and I don't know if you're familiar with these, but there was something called underoos.
Oh yeah, I used to have my
So,
Spider-Man ones when I was a kid.
yep, yeah, we had Wonder Woman, Supergirl. My brother had, I forgot what he had. He had something. Maybe it's Aquaman or something. But we had underoos, and running around the house in our Supergirl and Superman underoos. Kind of just stood there. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And after that, I had a great interest. I think that was the opening right there was underoos. Um, and I just always loved Halloween. Always loved dressing up. Always loved going in my grandmother's closet and digging out her jewelry, and if she had wigs and anything. Loved doing that. That led to modeling, and which I really liked that. But then um, I remember when the video game Tomb Raider came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, you should do Tomb Raider. You should do Tomb Raider." So one year for a convention out in Las Vegas, I did Tomb Raider. People were like losing their minds. So, and this was ages ago. So I started doing more and more. You know, I guess we called it costuming back then. So started doing more and more. I got a mermaid costume, and I did different things. There wasn't always like a character. It was just something I wanted to do. So, pick up a cowboy, basically did the whole YMCA group and the Indian cowboy Indian. So yeah, I just had fun with it. Um,
Was there ever any characters you sat there and you thought, I I want to do that, but like maybe I don't know that one's gonna be a pain to try and make.
Starfire, Starfire, because they're so
Really?
well. Her clothes, there's so little to her clothing. So I always want to do
Ah,
it.
okay.
It's one I've always meant to do. It would be great to shoot, but if there's a way to do something like that on conventions, like make a Starfire outfit that could be actually worn to conventions too. I
I'm
started
trying to
working.
think, like maybe like for what they did for the kids Teen Titans show with Starfire,
Maybe,
where she had like maybe a crop top on and she had shorts that went halfway up like mid quad.
yeah, or use the flesh toned fabric for the original outfit, to cover up the other areas. I don't know, maybe, but yeah, there's a few. And then when I started modeling for a lot of the artists, so I started working for Boris Vallejo and um, oh God, I worked for a lot of the Marvel and DC artists, and I worked for George Perez, who did pretty much a lot of the Marvel and DC stuff, and so I started working for the actual artists that in the comic book companies, and then I was getting comic books and variant covers um, where there were me, like Red Sonja and my own comic book line, like Code Red and Stripper Viking, and then I was in Sirens. That was George Perez's last series. So yeah, it's just been, and then it's just been fun. It's
Uh,
still fun.
that's gonna be a hell of an honor to get to be in George Perez's last series. Because
Yeah,
I gotta dig through my collection, but on I got the JLA Avengers series Perez worked on back in '03.
yeah. Oh, I think I have one of them. I might have. Let me see. Um, hang. No, I thought I had it. All that for that. I really thought I had the book out here. I went to look, but I guess I
Um,
actually put something away. Shocking.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
I
Yeah,
have like a stack of books here. I'm like, I know it's right there. It's not right there.
yeah.
No.
So you're gonna laugh at this, but I'm glad that you mentioned that you did Red Sonja because I don't know why I knew the character you were talking about, but for whatever reason, I couldn't put a name to it, and all I kept thinking was Lady Death from the Vampirella series.
Yeah.
Like, no, she did not do that. Why are you thinking that? Like, has anyone ever come up to you to like go and do any kind of characters that you were like, wait, what?
A
That you
lot of
were
them.
second guessing on?
Yeah, a lot of them. Matter of fact, I was working with a couple of illustrators and writers on a regular basis. It was Nick Havert and J.E. Fife. And they were like, you have to do Thundra because she was a wrestler and she's built like you. And I was like, I have no idea who that is. And then they showed me her picture and I started, reading about her and her, her fights and everything with She-Hulk and everything else and Thing. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. I have to do Thundra. So I had the outfit made, and that's probably one of my more popular cosplays.
I could, yeah, I can definitely see that. You have a lot of people chasing after you for that.
So yeah, that one's fun. And then you get the occasional person that's like, is that what's the guy with the lightning? Oh guys, are you Flash? And I'm like, no, I'm not Flash. I'm not
Yeah.
Flash.
Now
So
you see,
yeah.
now I'm gonna get all comic book nerdy because as best as I can recall, I think they only had Barry's daughter as Flash.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Might be better about that than I am.
Yeah, as best as I can recall, I can't think of it. I mean, I read whatever comic I can get in front of me.
Mhm.
So I'm not like one particular brand loyal, Marvel or DC or Image or whatever. No, I'm with whatever.
Yeah, same. I don't
Whatever.
understand that whole brand loyal. It's like if it's entertaining, bring it.
Yeah, exactly. Entertainment is entertainment at the end
Yep.
of the day. As long as you're happy and you enjoy what you're watching or doing whatever it is that's making you
Yep.
happy. Like I try explaining that to my son because he absolutely swears by the Marvel movies, but I'm like, dude, no, you got to check out some of the DC stuff over here because some of this DC stuff is pretty good too. It's just as good, man.
Yeah, it's just a little darker.
Yeah. So, yeah, because what's it? I showed him the series that came out a couple months ago, Creature Commandos, and his jaw hit the floor when he saw Phosphorus literally just put his hand through a guy to melt his skull. Like,
DC has all the fun redheads too.
yeah. Well, yeah, again, yeah, they are. Because let's say Marvel has Mary Jane and
No, they've got Thundra.
yeah, they got Thundra,
They've got
Medusa,
yeah,
Medusa from the Inhumans.
yeah, She-Hulk.
Does She-Hulk count? Because I thought
Oh,
we talking regular She-Hulk or Red She-Hulk?
Well, the original well, that's a good
Yeah,
question actually.
the original She-Hulk has like green and blackish hair, and
Yeah,
Red
yeah,
She-Hulk is
yeah, you're
red
right,
skin with
Jennifer.
black hair.
Yeah, you're right. Um,
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Yeah. Well,
I
Black
know
Widow
there's
also.
probably a string of them. I'm just
They
blanking
got
right now.
Black Widow also, so that's
Right,
four I can count
Natasha. Yep,
off the top of my head with
Natalia,
Marvel.
Natasha.
I guarantee you give me enough time, I could probably come up with a list.
Yeah, same. That's why my brain's fried from already doing a show and probably not eating enough and having concussions and wrestling. But hey,
And we've all I did backyard stuff from the time I was 12 until I was 27, unfortunately.
ouch.
Yeah, hence that's where the name Vicious came from because my character was the bastard son of Sid and Nancy from the Sex Pistols. And I have my bell rung way more times than I can count. And I don't know if you can notice, but the way my head shape, part of it, like kind of a little bit of a dent because I took one too many shots with trash cans.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, you win then.
Yeah, I got put through a meat grinder.
Oof.
We used cardboard and used mattresses. And for a good chunk of that, and for a small chunk of that time, that was back when we were still in Philly with concrete. So we didn't have dirt.
That's
Yeah. Listen to the warnings, kids. Don't try that stuff at home. It hurts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of don't try this at home.
Yeah, definitely. So what so what initially got you into wrestling? Because you originally popped up on my radar. I remember seeing you in WCW. I was like, I would when I was one of the handful of people that was still watching during the 2000s.
Um, yeah, I ended up in that because they were hiring models to put with the NWO. So I think they interviewed about 12 of us and hired, I think, 5 or 6 of us. Um, we are all from the West Coast. I was the only one living in Vegas. Everybody else was living in LA. Um, so that's how it happened. They saw me in Playboy. So they were randomly picking out people in, I guess, fitness magazines and stuff. I was in an issue of Playboy with DDP's wife. So they saw me there, and then I'm not that hard to track down. So they had an agent contact me, Rich Minzer, and they flew me out to have an audition. So, and I met Terry Taylor there, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Do you still you still keep in touch with some of the other NWO girls or
Yeah, I talked to Kim Canner. I see her every once in a while. I keep up with Medeja. So yeah, usually if I like somebody, I stay in touch with them for life. I mean, we all traveled together, so you have to have a degree of trust to, travel and room with people. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear. That's always a good thing that you're still keeping that friendship in touch.
mhm.
And I know you had a small stint in OVW. You had a good run in TNA for a minute.
I wouldn't call it a good run. I did a couple of their shows. Some were never aired. I was their first female wrestler that they ever had because at the time, Jarrett was not into having female wrestlers on at all. So they did an angle with Bruce for the Miss TNA crown, and they brought me in to work with Bruce. So it was Jeff Jarrett decided to do it because I think it was mostly because I'd worked with him in the NWO and WCW. So he's like, "Ah, she's trained, try it." So yeah, we did that, and then I went in and did a couple other things where I was ringside or in the ring, here and there in Tennessee and Florida. Um, let's see, worked more for probably Ring of Honor, more for Japan, overseas, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and than I did anything really stellar in the United States, I think.
All right. Well, not a problem. Yeah, like I said, anything that I did or did not pick up from research, by all means, feel free to blame
No,
Wikipedia
that's
for me.
okay. Yeah,
Feel free.
I was very almost with everything. Like they flew me out the day after WrestleMania to meet with WWE and meet with all their writers. And that's how I ended up going to Killer Kowalski's was they set it all up. Um, But the ironic part was when I went there and started training, shortly after that happened, both WCW and ECW folded at the same time. I got lost in the shuffle because they were trying to figure out who to keep, who to get rid of, keep this contract, get rid of this person. So that's when I started working overseas a lot because, they had their hands full trying to pick through what was going on. Then after that, it was separate SmackDown and uh, Raw. Remember that whole debacle?
Yeah.
So then that happened. So I mean, I was just completely lost in that whole entire thing. So when they were in Boston, I was backstage almost every time. But
Did it ever feel like at any point it was like, man, what if? Could that get, what if? Did it ever feel like one of those?
at one point, I wanted it so badly. I really did. And I think I also didn't want it so badly because so many of my friends had gone there and they were miserable. Um, there was a severe lack of freedom everything from being able to do anything to being able to say anything to them controlling everything. Um, with WCW or WWE, um, it's such a weird thing. We're called sports entertainers, but we were tested like we were professional athletes, just random P tests catch you in the hallway. So you're drug tested like an athlete, but you're not able to get SAG or SAG insurance like an actor. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds. Additionally, you're still considered an independent contractor, but they dictate your entire um, schedule. You have to be here, do this, check in by this time, and then additionally, you have to pay all your expenses. So all your aside from hotel or not hotel, sorry, you pay for that. Aside from your flight, you're paying your hotel and your rental car. So it's kind of like the worst of everything. You don't have a team bus, you don't have a team doctor, you don't have insurance. You're not truly a self a contract independent contractor because you can't make your own schedule. You can't qualify for SAG because despite being on TV, you can't take cold medications because you'll piss test hot. So I mean, it's there's part of me that was just like, I don't know if I want to give that up. And at the time, I was, and I'm still making good money off of websites like at aprilhunter.com and patreon.com. April Hunter, cheap plug. And I was, I owned my own name, so you would have to I would have had to give that over too. So at the time, I was, um, again, Patreon April Hunter. Um,
It's not a problem.
no,
I
I
get
mean,
guarantee if I
uh,
ever win the Powerball, I'll sign up for the highest tier on your Patreon for you.
no, but I seriously, at the time I was making decent money, and I was like, I don't know, I want it, but I don't know if I want it because I value freedom so much, and there was a point
Yeah,
where
I
they
get
wanted to,
that.
they did. I did at one point get an offer from Jim Ross, and he wanted to send me to OVW to train with the other girls, and it was $500 a week and no guarantees of anything. And I had to make sure I was single. And that's the thing that irked me. I was like, wait a second, why are you telling me I have to go single? I have to move there by myself and be single. Not that I had like the greatest boyfriend or anything at the time. Obviously, we didn't end up together anyway. It was just the fact that they told me I had to be single. They hadn't paid me a dime yet, and they were already telling me what to do. So I was like,
Yeah,
what does that
that's
have to do with my
that's a
ability to
little
be in the ring? Yeah. So
that's a little bit of a head scratcher because I mean, like, I can't even imagine like if we get told like, "Hey Tim, we want to sign you, but you gotta make sure you don't have a girlfriend." Like, wait, what?
yeah, it was that one took me by surprise. So I don't, I don't know. I
Hmm.
declined their offer. I was like, thank you so much for the offer, but I think I'm gonna pass. So and everybody's like, are you nuts? And I'm like, maybe, maybe it'll be the
Well,
biggest mistake I
yeah,
ever
I
made.
mean, yeah, I can see where they were coming at that time because at that time it was, well, they're really the only dog in the market,
Hmm.
but like you said, you took, I give you mad credit because you took a bet on yourself. Like you said, you owned your name, you knew what you could do. You got your shows you do. You got all the content work that you make, you know, all things considered, I think it worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I probably have, so I'm banged up, but I know a lot of the girls there are severely banged up. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, could have been the biggest mistake I made. Could have been the greatest thing I ever did. I don't know. Jury's out. Time will tell.
No, well, if we ever wind up getting like one of those machines in a sci-fi movie that shows the multiverses, you can always check on the WWE multiverse.
I
April.
know. That's why I said there's probably one there. Yeah, and I got an offer from TNA as well, but their offer was even worse. Theirs at that time was $300 a show. Oh, I think it was only if they used you. So you could sit backstage and they could not use you in any storyline and you weren't making any money. Um, and at the time, my friend had just shattered her ankle in the ring um, with them. And they left her. They left her in the hotel.
Oh,
Um, or no, they left her at the hotel too. Um, there was nobody there around to take her to the hospital. Nobody around to make sure she got on the plane. We made sure she got on the flight home. Um, and this happened because they overworked her. So she was working multiple matches. It was for a women's pay per view. Of course, we all got the same pay no matter what. And she was doing something that they asked her to do in the ring that she didn't normally do. But they did that. Sometimes they would ask you to do moves that weren't moves you normally did. So yeah, I was like, I honestly for a minute I thought about that one because I was like, oh, I kind of I missed out on the first one. Maybe I'll take this one. And I was married at the time. My former husband was just like, "Are you freaking nuts?" He's like, "If something happens to you, do you know what would happen with the medical in this country, and then you couldn't work?" He's like, "I'm not gonna carry around somebody." He's like, "Oh no, no." He's like, "Don't sign that." You know, he wasn't wrong.
yeah. Well, all things considered, yeah, I would say that was kind of the safe bet. Given you're still able to stand and walk and talk on your own accord.
Yeah, and I remember at the same time, this was when I think it was like the tag champs were, um, they were making, I think, like $22,000. They were the tag champs on TV of TNA, and they could qualify for food stamps and help. And they couldn't. They were making such little money, and TNA basically locked you down and owned you. So any form of bookings you used to take, you couldn't do that anymore unless you gave them a percentage. So it was just there's so much ownership and control, and if you are willing to do that, you can get a shot. You can get in front of a television camera and run with it, but you have to maybe give up a lot for it. And I just didn't think I was willing to do that.
I get that. So as far as like, you said yourself, you do a lot of your own content work. Like, is there anything in particular outside of the A show that you'd want to mention or talk over?
Well, I do a lot of pinup modeling, still a lot of cosplay, a lot of behind the scenes of all the conventions. I do a lot of horror conventions and comic cons. I do a lot of behind the scenes on the shoots too. So my page, content creation could be anything and everything. So I still do films. I have a two different horror films I did this past year. One is called The Clock. It's on Amazon, and the other is coming out shortly. It's a Chucky film, horror film. So Chucky, I was his girlfriend.
Like part of the Chucky franchise or
It was a Chucky film where the doll came to life and was represented by a real child. So
really?
yeah, I do films every so often.
Well, no, I'm just thinking like because if it's part of the Chucky franchise, I'm definitely wanting to check that out. When I was
Yeah,
a little kid, I was terrified of Chucky.
yeah,
I couldn't eat, like I would legit get panic attacks to the point I would hyperventilate and pass out. Like if I even saw the commercials for it, I would get that bad.
yeah. This
Now
was
I look at it and I'm like, this is what I was scared of.
yeah, it was a fun film to do. I'll just do various films here and there when the offers come and just different things. So mhm.
Do you think acting might be something that you'd want to be more interested in if like certain roles or certain opportunities came up down the road?
Could be, yeah. If it was something like that, yeah.
So if like James Gunn happens to listen to this and then just be like, you know what, we could get her. Let's bring her on board. You'd be all for it.
Maybe.
Keep that in mind, folks. Just, well, they haven't officially announced anything for Batman yet. So, if Batman, for a potential Batman villain or potential love interest for the film,
There you
that
go.
is a possibility. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Do they even use redheads anymore in the films? I didn't think they did. They kind of try and make us all obsolete.
Nah, well, hey, if they wind up putting Poison Ivy in the movie, guarantee you could just make
Yeah.
the argument. No, listen, I'll save wardrobe money on hair. I'll save
Yeah,
wardrobe money on hair.
there
You
you
don't
go.
have to worry about that. You could always make that argument. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm thanks for taking the time to come on. I say this to everyone that did come on. You could have been out there doing a million different things. You chose to be here. You got my eternal thanks for that. You're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you.
Sorry for
I
if you
appreciate
hear
that.
something that sounds like a shotgun blast going off in the background. My son sneezes that's my son. He sneezes really, really loud. We
That's
all
okay.
do in the family.
I get it. I understand. And I've got my pets. I've got two of three of the pets sitting here with me, and one of them snores. So you might be hearing that too. It's a boxer, and he's just like so.
That's my son. My son brought home a cat from his mom's
Hmm.
back in the summer, and the way I've never seen a cat purr as hard or as loud as he does. He sounds like a Harley engine.
I believe it. Wait, let's see. There's one.
Oh, they are cute.
No,
I get the chance. I got to show you a picture of my dog and the cat when he first got to the house, because my dog, she is very much so like Nana from Peter
mhm.
Pan, like very much so mama dog like with him. Like, no, this is my cub. But yeah, it's again, I'm thankful for you taking the time to come on here. You could have been out there doing a million different things. You chose to be here. You got my thanks, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you. I
You
appreciate
know,
that.
anything you wish to give a plug or a shout out on, by all means, the floor is yours. Take it. Go
Uh,
ahead and mention whatever you like.
like I said, we're live on Tuesdays on the A Show, and that's on Twitch TV slash the A Show, or on YouTube, April Hunter. So if you follow me and set your notifications, we have replays too. It's all free. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's real April Hunter on Instagram. On X, it's April Hunter. Patreon, it's April Hunter. So I'm super easy to find and follow, and would love to have you find and follow me. So awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's more than well. Oh,
So appreciate it.
more than welcome. Thanks. Glad you caught that joke. More than welcome. Thanks for taking the time to come on. I do appreciate it.
Cool. All right. Have a good one.
You too.